Well, hello, my YouTube friends. So today we're going to talk about screws, drill bits, pilot holes, because as you know, I'm using some screws to reinforce the corners of these frames. So I had many options. My first two options were the number 8 by 2.5 inch drywall screw, and I wasn't happy with that. For one thing, I didn't have a long enough drill bit to drill the full length pilot hole, so that was problematic. And so then I went with the 2.5 or the 2 inch number 8 sheet metal screw. So it is listed as a sheet metal screw. It works just fine in wood, and since I'm drilling into a hardwood and I don't want it to split later and I don't want difficulty inserting it, you have to have a pilot hole. Okay, so let's take some quick measurements. So the number 2 or the number 8 by 2 sheet metal screw comes in at 0.168. Okay, so how big of a hole do you want to drill it in? If you're drilling into really soft wood, you don't need as large diameter hole. Okay, here's a 1/8 inch drill bit, 0.125. Here's a 9/64, 0.140. So 0.140 on a 168 leaves 14 thousandths per side of wood for the threads to bite into. So the hole is still smaller, but small enough to allow the threads to bite, but not so small that you have to displace a lot of wood with the shank. Okay, now, again, softer wood will be easier and won't require as large diameter pilot hole. And depending on what your project is, I mean, if you're assembling a deck in the backyard, then you're going to use self-tapping screws anyway, deck screws, and you might have a star drive or something. But for this purpose, now I got this Phillips head. So you can grab any random screwdriver out of your toolbox, but look at this. Okay, it doesn't fit tight in there. I mean, it'll work, but if it's loose like that, that increases the chances of it slipping and damaging your project. Okay, maybe I want to use a power driver, you know, a screw gun. So let's try this. Okay, look at that thing is in there. See, it bites and holds. Less chance of slippage. But I don't want to use a screw gun because once it's set, I don't want it to keep turning and strip the wood. A power gun increases the chance of that happening. So I want to get my random 30-year-old Craftsman screwdriver, seen years of good service, and it fits. Little bit of movement, but it fits much tighter than the other one. See, it'll hold that. Okay, let's try this one. This one's much newer, but it's the wrong, won't hold at all. All right, now, I did some tests on this piece of wood to check the difficulty of inserting the screw. I had a couple different pilot holes, a couple different screws, and I'll show you now the easiest way to prep the screw for easy insertion into the wood. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so you can see that my workbench is 40 inches tall, and I set the frame on the workbench because I want gravity to help hold it in place, right? I don't want to have one hand holding it in a vertical position while I'm trying to screw down like this, right? I don't want to have it on a lower table where I'm bent over trying to insert the screw. I made this workbench myself. I purposely raised the working surface. Okay, so anyway, so here's the pilot hole, countersunk already. Here's the sheet metal screw, and this right here is a bar of soap, or what's left of one. In this case, it's Caress. So, many of you may have seen this already or already be aware of this trick. Like magic, it's so simple. Once you understand how it's done, how magic is done, it's so simple, and you can't believe that you didn't think of it yourself. Okay, so let me get a little bit closer. So that has some dry bar soap on it. And I'm going to put it right here. Give it just a little turn to hold, it. Now I'm going to adjust the camera for the best angle. Let me zoom in. Focus. Doing this all with one take, hopefully. Get some extra light. And with the correct fitting screwdriver, I'm just barely turning it. And with only slight forward pressure, because the pilot hole is almost too big, right? 14 thousandths per side, or its overall diameter is 28 thousandths too small. So the wood that came out is being replaced by the shank of the screw. The threads are biting into the wood. And you can see if I was pushing harder, it'd be doing that. And I want this to screw in nice and easy as you're watching now. And then, okay, it's fully seated right there. That's it. Now, if I had to push in really hard to maintain bite, there's a chance it could slip out and I could gouge the wood right here. Okay, I don't want that to happen. So that's it. That's how simple that is. I'm going to do that 3 more times, and then I might as well show you this. Let's see, turn this extra light off. Okay, so I've already checked this piece of plastic for square. So this edge right here, let me move these so... So I got all flat surfaces on this, and hopefully I can keep them that way. So with this, I'm going to have sandpaper like on one side, right? And I'm going to, bend it and hold it. I'm going to put this right there, and I'm going to use this as the block, and I'm going to sand it like this to remove any surface imperfections, any minor amounts of oil from my hands and stuff like that. And doing it in this manner will keep this surface square to whatever wall it's hanging on. And it might rub off a little bit of that right there, but that's okay. And I might come in on this side, I might not. So it's about done. This project is almost done. A little final sanding to remove minor imperfections, box it up, ship it. So I hope somebody will find at least one of these videos in this series helpful. This is how an ordinary man does it with crude hand tools and antique saws. So, all right, my friends, you have a good day.